in the middle of a trial at the moment that's concerning custody of 2 West Highland Terriers. So we're right in the middle of it now, and it's going on till next week.
Now, you know that you've been on this show, and I respect you very much, but I have to ask this question because I know the folks at home are saying it. Is this really the best use of a lawyer's time or of the court's time?
Well, until now, we have had to take the battle to court because there were no reported decisions. But thanks to Dexter and to the court's decision below, we were able to appeal this case to the appellate division. And now there is a reported precedent-setting case in New Jersey, Hausman versus Dare, which actually says that animals are more than just property. And a judge can't give you money for the dog, because that's what happened with Dexter. She was awarded money, not the dog.
All right, Jen, I know you're dying to jump in here because you're an animal lover. Let's just get that out there.
I am.
But to a certain extent.
Right. I mean, I am an animal lover, and I love Dexter over here. But, I mean, it's one thing when we're talking about dogs and cats, but this becomes a slippery slope. Are we going to have court cases about fish and lizards and tarantulas and every other pet that people can own? I mean, people have a wide variety of different types of pets. They love their pets. They feel like they're part of the family, and we really can't clog up the court system with these types of cases. They are already overburdened. Judges can't even get to custody matters when you're dealing with children. Then how are we going to handle all these pet cases? I just think it's not the right way to handle them.
Well, we actually do often have battles over property that are unique. What about an heirloom? What about people that are fighting over an estate and they're fighting over grandfather's grandfather clock or grandma's watch or a diamond ring that belonged to your great
But Gina, those
uncle.
cases are actually very rare. And in fact, in the family court, when it comes to personal property, furniture and dishes and things like that, judges like to stand back. They tell the parties, work it out yourselves. We don't want to be bothered in the court system. Or they send it to a mediator, and the mediator chooses one and, gives one thing to one person, one thing to the other person. They don't really spend a lot of time with these types of cases. Now, I understand an animal is not a piece of china, but that's how it's treated in the law. And you know what? There's a purpose for that.
Until now.
Well, no, because
yeah,
the appellate division didn't say that the dog should be treated as a child. The dog is still a piece of property, an important piece of property, but still a piece of property.
And a unique piece of property that can't be divided. I mean, you can't, it's not like a lumberjack, you can cut the dog in half. You can't, if there were 2 dogs, perhaps one could take one and one could take another. That might be a solution that might work for some people. But just as people fighting over an heirloom will have to take their battle to court, people fighting over an animal took the battles to court. And I would actually suggest that now that we have this case, there will be less litigation. Because with this case as precedent, people are going to have some guidance, and they're going to know that they have to share.
I disagree with you, because people were shut out before by the court system for the most part when it came to animals. Judges made the decision, like the court below did initially, and said, this is a piece of property, I'll give you some money, I don't want this in my courtroom. And so people were sort of afraid to even bring these cases forward. Now, when they have a precedent-setting decision like this, the floodgates are open, and people are going to be wanting to get into court to litigate these types of cases, and the courts just cannot handle it. I mean, when it comes to custody of children, even there, judges are not, always willing to make a decision right away. They send you to an expert. They send you to mediation. They try to get it out of their courtroom. They don't want a prolonged litigation over a child. Can you imagine what we're going to do when we have dogs, cats, fishes?
Well, that's the question that we're going to ask our viewers. We're going to take a break right there, but we do want to know what you have to say about this. Do you agree that on one hand, the courts are overloaded and that it could be a slippery slope when it comes to pet custody issues? Or on the other, is there nothing you wouldn't do to keep your loved one? If you want to tell us what you think, you can email us. We'll take a short break and be back with some more debate and more of Dexter right after this.
Transportation for It's Your Call guests provided by Preferred Car and Limousine.
The man should take the dog because the woman is not going to know what to do with the dog once the dog gets bigger and bigger. They ain't going to know how to train it, feed it. They ain't going to have time to pick up the poop. Only the man got time to pick up the poop, not the woman. So I think the dog belongs with the man.
It's a waste of the court's time and money because, it's a dog,
As a mature adult, I would have been able to work that out without using the legal system.
It's not worth the court's time, I think, for the most, because the dog is, if it's pretty simple that the dog's happy with both people, it doesn't show either love for either one else, then it's not worth, staying out of work, going to court, and, spending money for fines and court costs and stuff like that. You guys should be able to, handle it reasonably and, as adults, amicably.
That's what people around the region had to say when we asked them their opinion of the so-called dog custody case. Now, if you're not familiar with this, it's a local case that actually made national headlines, where a couple that had a dog together was unable to decide who would keep the dog when the couple decided to split up. So now they've gone to court, and each of them gets 5 weeks custody at a time. We're asking your opinion of this. What do you think? Can you understand and relate to the love that each of these individuals had for this dog? Or do you think, like that last guy on the tape, that they should have been able to work it out? I'm going to turn once again to Doreen Hausman, who is the owner of Dexter, who's involved in this case, and just get your reaction to some of the comments from the people throughout the region who said, for a lack of a better phrase, why couldn't you just work it out?
Much easier said than done.
Anybody who's ever gone through a split totally relates to what you're saying.
Everything starts out real nice, and then once the breakup really starts to happen, it's never pretty for anybody.
Did you ever contemplate what was in the best interest of the dog? I can't believe I just asked that question. I've asked that many a time when it came to children. But did you contemplate who could give Dexter the best home and the best environment?
Not really, because I don't think either one of us loves him any more than the other. And we both, I know he's, really good to him as I am. And I don't think one of us is better than the other when it comes to his care or how much we love him.
Well, that's why I didn't ask who loved him more, but rather about the actual, perhaps physical environment, or who could spend more time with him. The same kinds of criteria that a judge or a court looks at when it's deciding children's custodial parents.
Right. Well, yes, because he works longer hours and shift work and everything. But I know he's not alone, so I know Dexter's not alone either. But in the same aspect, he's mine. So, no, I think both of us. He's got a good home with both of us.
And you feel that you both did everything you could to resolve this without involving the court?
I did.
So you had no qualms or guilt or second thoughts about having gone to court to get custody of Dexter?
No. Unfortunately, I didn't want it to go that way. I thought that we could have continued sharing, but I'm not the one who stopped it, so I wasn't going to let it go,
Okay, that's where I want to pick up the debate again, because we've been asking you what you think. You're reading some of the Facebook comments here that we got, and let me tell you, just hundreds of people responded to the question about this dog custody case. You can still get in on the discussion. You can email us, or you can find me on Facebook and send me a note about it as well. I'll certainly share some of these as we go throughout the hour here. Jen, we're talking here about a so-called slippery slope, and where does this end? I mean, everyone looks at Dexter, understands why Doreen loves him. We've all fallen in love with him here in the studio. But is it possible that this could be taken to extremes?
Absolutely, because when you open the door to pets, then, people have different love for different types of pets, exotic pets, as we were talking about during the break. There's a monetary factor, there's a special breed, or what it costs. That will all be taken into consideration. So it could be an overwhelming amount of litigation. The courts are just not the place where these cases belong. Maybe through mediation, maybe there's another way that this can be determined, just like you do with valuable property or other property disputes. But to waste a judge's time dealing with a pet is just not the best use of time when they have so little time.
Well, here's